Welcome to Honest Whispers Review for Sale. On this video, I'll be reviewing Women of the DC Universe Series 2 Wonder Woman Bust. Released by DC Direct on January 15th, 2008. Limited edition of 6,200. This one is number 5,489 out of 6,200. The number is written upside down. Approximately 5.5 inches tall. Designed by Terry Dodson and sculpted by Jack Matthews. I'm going to go over 6 different categories to review this. First category is design. Covers the concept, the pose, and the look. And the concept is Women of the DC Universe. And the pose is stunning. You can see that she just finished changing from Agent Diana Prince to Wonder Woman. You could see her jumpsuit flowing behind her, and she even has her sunglasses in her hand. Now, on the base, you can see that the Wonder Woman logo is right there facing the front. So it looks like this is the designated, I guess, the front view of the bust. But as you can see, it's displayable in many different angles. Like this right here on the box is kind of in like a 45-degree angle like this. So very posable in many different directions. Looks very nice. I love how the hair is flowing. If I can show you even from a different angle, you can see it's sort of like flowing in one direction. So it almost looks like she's in the middle of a spin or just finished spinning. So very nice look to it. I like that, how everything's pretty consistent as far as the direction that the hair is kind of flowing towards. So very nice look. Now, if I had to make any changes, I would probably make the jumpsuit kind of higher in the air, possibly, for 2 reasons. One, it's blocking the view of her butt, and also right here is very fragile. Basically, that's the breaking point of this jumpsuit that's kind of flowing right there. And I actually bought a few of these, and I have one where I bought at a Comic-Con, and then it came broken. So what I did was I broke up the rest of it, and then right here you could see this is the bottom, and the hole you see, it actually has a like a steel wire. So got lucky on the brakes. Right here, couldn't finish it off, but then I broke off as much as I could to make it clean. And the glasses, it looks like it's glued where the thumb is, and unfortunately I wasn't able to take this off. I did try to heat it up and hope that the glue would kind of soften up, but it just wouldn't budge, and I don't want to break off the finger or anything like that, so I just left it as is for now. Can maybe cut it off, but anyway, I just wanted to show you what it looked like if it was broken, and how nice her butt looks. Very nicely shaped and sculpted. So putting this aside here, you can see that unbroken. Unfortunately, it covers most of her butt. I tried different angles, but you can kind of get a sneak peek right there on the bottom of her butt, but beyond that, it's mostly covered. And The thing is, this isn't molded with the body, so definitely would look just as good, if not better, without the jumpsuit. But still, that's just my honest, biased opinion. But as is, looks amazing. This is very unique compared to the other busts in the line. If I can show you some samples here. Most of them, as you can see, are just kind of standing, pretty much leaning forward. The Batwoman one looks alright, since she has the Batarang up in the air and ready to throw it. So the Wonder Woman, the Series 2 bust design is very unique. And looks great as is. That's why I give the design score a perfect 10 out of 10. Next category is sculpting. Covers the details, quality of the sculpt, quality of the mold. And starting from the top, very nice details to the hair. Not too much, not too little details. And the way the hair is flowing in that one direction, very nice and has a very natural look to it. So I definitely like that. And very hard to make hair like this look like it's flowing in the, blowing or flowing in the wind naturally. So definitely a really well done job. And the sculpt quality for the hair is actually pretty good. I don't see too many indented lines, dimples, or rough surface areas. So it looks very natural. Face looks great. I think for me, if I could compare with the original concept drawing that this bust is based off of, actually the drawing looks pretty good. And then here's the prototype face. Actually, I'll do a close-up of the prototype face. And when I compare the prototype with the actual face, I think the actual face turned out a little better. Let me show it to you in the same similar angle. And I think for me it's because her face looks a bit more narrow, so just has a better shape to it. It could have been better. For instance, her cheeks looks a bit too narrow, but still, for me, as is, looks really good compared to the prototype. I mean, if I had to choose between the two faces, I would probably go with the actual production one. Details to her costume is very nice. I mean, she doesn't have a complicated costume or anything, but still, if you look at the breastplate, even the seam lines on her bustier are very nicely done. It's subtle, but you could see it, especially through the lighting, or especially when the light reflects off of it. And even her belt, you could see some nice lines here and there. And her body, everything is perfectly proportioned, from her fingers, arms, breasts, and butt. Unfortunately, it is covered, but I mean, just the way her back curves and her thin, or her waist, how it thins down, and then the way just everything is shaped is great. You could even see the belt, some nice details on the belt of Agent Diana Prince's costume. And then the base, pretty much a classic Wonder Woman base. Kind of has that Greek pillar type of look to it. And then the suit, the way it flows, has natural wrinkles and everything, and looks great. Now as far as the quality goes, the hair looked pretty good. Face, not too much issues or at all. Now you might see some rough areas on the fingers and the palm. You can see right there on her palm, gets very rough. Even some of her fingers looks a little bit stubby looking, and kind of reminds me of like the surfaces of like a clay figure. Rest looks nice. Breasts, arms, shoulders, very nice muscle definitions. You can see some rough areas here, and there is like a dimple here on her elbow, which can look natural, and that's really looking at it up close. The further you go back, less you notice, unless you're completely focused on that dimple. But at a glance, you're not going to notice. On the back, had some rough surfaces. Right there on the left side. Okay, the right side of her back is nice and smooth. Left side of her back, you could see a lot of that indented lines, the dimples. You could even see the seam lines on her star-spangled panties. So very nice details to her costume. Lasso is done really right and nicely. It looks right. And then you can see some rough areas here on her belt. Some bumps right there on the pouch. Some dimples here on the side of the belt. And even right here on the back, looks like part of it's like chipped off. But of course, those are minor details. And then the further you go back, the harder it is to see them. So for a DC Direct product, the sculpting is actually pretty nice. Quality is a lot better than their average, and that's why I give the sculpting score a near perfect 9 out of 10. Next category is colors. Covers the accuracy of the colors, accuracy of the paint applications, and quality of the paint. And as you can see, again, for a DC Direct product, quality is pretty good. Everything is overall symmetrical. Maybe the pupil is slightly off, but at this point, this is good enough. I like the consistency of the lines. Now you could see some squiggly lines like her left eyebrow, but since it's an eyebrow, it doesn't look too bad. Lips look great. And her costume overall, very nicely done. Now, it does look like there is some gloss finish to this on certain areas. Like for instance, the Diana Prince costume, you can see how the light reflects off of it a lot more than, for instance, like her skin. Her skin's more of a matte finish. And the bracelets and even part of her costume, like the gold parts of the costume, kind of has like a metallic finish to it, so it does add a little bit more shine. Yeah, not much bleeding or squiggly lines. Pretty consistent overall with everything, so very happy with that. And if there is any kind of bleeding, it's very minor. Maybe like something right here on the bracelet. You could see a little bit of the silver bleeding onto her forearm. Or even some of the flesh color kind of running over the borderline of the bracelet. but again, very minor. And if I can show you that focused and then start zooming back, you see that at this angle or this distance, can't even really see it. Now the stars are imprinted, but I noticed that on the front it's slightly asymmetric. You can see the star right there, and then the middle line of the belt just slightly off, and you can see a little bit of blue bleeding right there, or at least kind of a squiggly line. And then on her butt, you can see the star is slightly more let's see, it's more symmetrical. You can see the star right on her butt crack line, so very close to symmetrical on the back. And the reason why I point that out is because if you look at the broken one, let me show you from the front first. You can see that the stars here is perfectly lined up. You can see right there the middle seam line of her Star Spangled panties going right through the middle of pretty much all three stars. But then when you look at her butt, the stars are slightly off. You can see her butt crack line, and you can see where the placement of the stars are, and only the tip of it is on that butt crack line. Something you could only really tell up close, but I guess it's gonna be either perfectly symmetrical in the front or perfectly symmetrical on the back. It's kind of like pick your poison, I guess. I guess it's possible that both of them could be right, because I'm seeing that the imprinted part of the stars start and end right there. And here would be the other side, so you could see right. Overall, again, looks great. Of course, bust by bust, it does matter, so some might be painted better than the others, so definitely want to watch out for that. Unfortunately, you can't see the inside. Like this one, the pupil, one seems slightly either slightly bigger, like her right eye seems a little bigger or a little bit higher, but I'm being a little bit too critical right there, because even at this distance it's nicely symmetrical, and you can't see that. I mean, it doesn't look like she's cross-eyed or googly-eyed. So and then a few other things I wanted to show just before I make the final grade on the color category. There is some bleeding here, or at least the line doesn't seem all that straight, but that's part of the costume, so it really doesn't matter too much. And then the cracks on the pillar. From afar, it looks really nice, but when you really look at it up close, it looks very simple. And even certain areas, like the way it gets kind of thick like that, the lines aren't that consistent. But of course, they are supposed to look like crack, and it's not supposed to be like perfect looking cracks, but some of them just looks a little, like right here, just a lazy kind of line, that's squiggling lines. But it does look consistent with, if I can show you, they're not all random. You can see that right here. You got the one long line that kind of splits up right there, and then you get another long line right here, splits down into two, and you get the same similar lines they're not exactly identical. You could see the angle of this line, and you could see the angle right here at the point where it splits off. So not exactly the same, but then it looks like they did have like a blueprint as to where and what kind of lines the cracks go. So it's not perfectly painted, but then it is very close. Just a lot of, not a lot, just I would say a few very minor issues. And that's why I give the color score a near perfect 9 out of 10. Next category is packaging. Covers the design, the look, and the functionality. And this one, with the Series 2, they did make some changes compared to the Series 1 busts that came out prior to this one. They did change the title a bit, and it's now sidewards rather than on top. Even the top right here, they added a picture of the bust. And then they added, well, they didn't add, but on Series 1, the original artwork was on the left side of the box rather than the right side. But this still looks good. Doesn't make any difference really to me. And here's the close-up picture of the bust with some information about the bust itself, like the measurement and what it's made out of. And then the back, you got, it's kind of the same. It shows the bust of this one, and then the ones that's either coming out or was released. This one looks like it's coming soon. So, and I believe this Wonder Woman bust is the first of Series 2. And finally, on the bottom, as I've shown in the beginning of the video, it's just a UPC with a sticker that's hand numbered. So the design overall looks great. Everything very consistent with the other busts in the same product line. You could see a lot of individualized areas, not just the artwork and the bust, but the background and the colors itself are usually different, or actually it is different. Not just usually, it is always different. So I like how it's personalized or kind of individualized for the character of the bust that it's promoting. And as far as the foam protector, it does its job overall, but as I mentioned, you can end up with a broken piece, especially like right here. So I guess if it's not packed right, it can rattle and end up breaking the bust even inside the foam protector. So that's why, due to the functionality, I give the packaging score slightly under than the other packaging score of the same product line, an 8 out of 10. Next category is value. Covers the suggested retail price versus the quality, and suggested retail price versus the aftermarket price. And this one, when it first came out, I believe it was retailed at around $45. Right now, the lowest one I've seen on websites like eBay or even app selling sites like OfferUp or even Amazon and Walmart, the lowest I'm seeing is at about $60 plus $9.47 for shipping. Don't know how much tax is since it differs state by state. And then I have the next lowest looking at around $69.99 with free shipping, and $65 with $10.90 shipping, so about $75. So average, I'm looking at about $60 to $75 for the low average. Otherwise, they're all around that $75 to $80 range, plus or minus the shipping and taxes. So compared to the other busts in the line, the same product line of the Women of the DC Universe line, this one actually has the most value that I've reviewed so far. And that's why I give the value score. And whether if you're buying it at 60, 70, or 80 plus dollars, I think it's definitely worth it. This bust turned out really nicely, and I can see it go up in value a little more compared to the other product line or other busts from the same product line. And that's why I give the value score a very solid 7 out of 10. Next category is overall, final category, which accumulates the 5 prior categories: design, sculpting, colors, packaging, and value. And this one, again, I really like it a lot. I'm definitely gonna sell this and keep the one that's broken. So I'll probably go with that one. But still, broken or not, and whether butt's covered or not, this still looks great, looks amazing, displayable in many angles, like from, I would say even from here, this profile, all the way around to her facing front, to the design front where the logo is facing the front, and even maybe slightly to this angle. So that really helps as far as, you know, just being able to display at different angles so you don't get sick of it after a while. Quality on the sculpt paint, overall great, especially for DC Direct. And value wise, I guess it would be a decent investment compared to the other busts from the same product line. That's why I give the overall score a really high score, a 9 out of 10. So to recap: design, 10 out of 10. Sculpting, 9 out of 10. Colors, 9 out of 10. Packaging, 8 out of 10. Value, 7 out of 10. And overall, 9 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Until next time, continue reading the King James Version Bible and eat your vitamin C's daily.